Hello, welcome to Chuy's Education Corner. This is Richard Marquez, aka Chuy. You see me out there somewhere, you just yell, "Hey Chuy." One question I get asked often is the question about new teachers. How do you work with new teachers? It's very critical for new teachers to be successful on day one because it establishes their routines, it establishes a feeling of success, and that feeling of success may keep them in the business for a lot longer. If they feel, when people are successful, they'll stay wherever they're working. So, what I tell them is, look, teaching is a profession that requires for you to understand the scientific method to teach human beings. So, when you look at teaching today, all the lesson plans or the plans that the teachers use for every class that they teach are generated by the company that produces the curriculums. So the teachers never get a real background on how a lesson plan is truly built, so that they themselves have an understanding of how a lesson plan is built, so they get a feeling for exactly how and why and the way it should be delivered. And so usually what I have to do is I have to take them back and look at their lesson plans, pull them down off of the computer or just look at them on the computer, and then outline for them the basic steps. The first one is, look at this lesson. What's the goal? What are the kids supposed to be able to accomplish when you finish this goal? When you teach them, what is it you're teaching them? What are they supposed to be able to do at the end? And how do you prove that you actually were successful doing what you said you were going to do? So that's the first step, breaking down those goals and seeing to it that they understand why they're teaching this stuff. And so a lot of times you'd be surprised that teachers just do it because they're told to do it, which has a negative effect, because if you don't really believe in what you're doing, you're not going to do a very good job with it. So they have to basically learn to look at what the expectations are and then begin to work off of those expectations. The next step is you look at your materials, and they give you one of the big things about these new curriculums is they give you all these materials and all these resources. But again, if you don't know what the materials are supposed to be doing for you and doing for the kids, then you just basically teach them without any real direction. So you have to know your goals, and then you have to align those materials to achieve those goals. So the next thing I say is, okay, so how are you going to demonstrate this stuff to them? How are you going to show them? Because you have to show them what the expectation is. You can't just throw it out there and say, do this. Here, let me show you. Like the algebra teacher I had at one point. He'd walk in the classroom. He'd put two sample problems on the board. He'd do them. He'd say, all right. And then he'd do the problems. And then he'd say, okay, now do pages so-and-so out of your book. Do page so-and-so and so-and-so. And then he'd leave the classroom. And so at that point, you were left to fend for yourself if you're going to pass this algebra class. And basically, we were teaching ourselves. Needless to say, a C in that class was pretty darn good as far as I'm concerned. Because, to be honest with you, I don't know how much algebra I really learned. So that's my example. If you just show them a couple of things and so on, and then you just turn them loose, they don't necessarily know what it is you want them to do. So you basically have to get them to explain to you what they're supposed to be doing. So before you turn them loose, talk with them and say, all right, so what are you going to do? Show me. Come up here, you so-and-so and so. Show me what you're going to do. And then ask the others, is he right? Is she right? Is that what I asked you to do? Does everyone understand what it is? Who doesn't understand? The rest of you go to work and you go over to the student and you sit down with that student, or you work next to him and you say, okay, this is what I want you to do. So that every one of your kids knows what the expectation is. And then you don't sit down, you walk around and monitor your lesson plan. See, that lesson plan gives you directions as to what you should be doing. You walk around and you look for the kid who's struggling, who still maybe didn't understand what it is you explained for them to do. But you look for that child who's struggling and you help them make that transition, and you help them understand that fine point or the basic that you're trying to get them to do for you. What you're doing is you're looking to see if they're achieving what it is you want them to achieve, so they can show you that they learned what you were trying to teach them from the very beginning. So the lesson plan is a roadmap, and that's what I basically talk to the teachers about. It's how your class period is supposed to run. It should even have minutes on it. And a lot of the lesson plans do. They'll say, do this for 10 minutes, do this for 15 minutes. But don't take it literal. Don't set a time, don't set a clock. But remember, you need to keep pace, because that pace is critical to you. You won't, the kids won't lose focus, and they'll keep working if you maintain a good pace and you maintain good time limits. But your lesson plan needs to outline all of those things. So once I get a teacher, or a new teacher, or even a teacher who's struggling, once I get them to understand the importance of the lesson plan and the delivery of that lesson plan, that's the first thing that begins to put them on the road to being successful in the classroom. It's not everything, but with that kind of a start, your possibilities become very good to achieve what it is you're trying to achieve in that classroom. So don't just do the lesson plan as it's written in the curriculum guide. Don't just follow it like a drone. It's not going to work. It will not work unless you put your personal touch to it and your value to it. It's not going to work. So lesson plans are extremely important in the field of teaching. It is your roadmap. And so learning how to write one will help you with making decisions about what you do when one is given to you and written by somebody else. So that's my first direction, and the first thing I do whenever I'm working with a beginning teacher, a struggling teacher. And I've had very good success with it. Thank you.